recent survey found that almost 2/3 of shoppers would not buy milk produced by large-scale indoor dairy herds. Consumer awareness and attitude towards British farming has always been a challenge, but Nocton Dairy's plans for an 8,100 cow dairy unit has once again raised fears over factory farming. But what does the industry think about the topic, and how should it respond? I'm here at the Dairy Event and Livestock Show at the NEC Birmingham to find out. Do you think that large-scale dairying creates an image challenge for the industry?
I think what is a challenge for our industry is getting the right messages across to consumers. But as far as scale is concerned, DairyUK research conducted recently actually showed that consumers are more concerned about animal health and welfare, the same issues that farmers are concerned about, and actually what's really important to them is that we care for our cows.
It's more different to that, isn't it, really, than just an image challenge for the industry. It's something that highlights that image that consumers have about the industry and what farmers think of the industry are two completely different things. And we have to remember that when we're talking about dairy farming to the consumer press.
So what do you think can be done to raise consumer awareness?
Well, it's something that the whole industry has to be, it's a dilemma for the whole industry, and the whole industry is trying to work out how best to deal with it. But it's one of those things that really you've got to decide how far you want to go down that road. How much do you want to tell the consumer about, dairy farming, really? Because, as I say, with image being that cows are in green grass all the year, first you've got to get them to understand that cows are actually indoors most winters anyway. So it's a step-by-step basis. But I think it has to be fed through the whole industry.
I think we all in the dairy industry have a role in promoting what our dairy farmers do, especially retailers currently, because there are so many dairy farmers supplying dedicated retail chains currently who have bespoke welfare standards and welfare conditions on their farms. And if those farmers were allowed to speak up about what they do and what they've achieved and the standards of welfare that they farm to, we could easily promote the industry about how well our farmers are doing. And not only those farmers who are on retail contracts, but all farmers. We need to have a bank of farmers that are willing to speak up on how well they farm, how proud they are of what they produce. And if we can do that and get those messages across to the public, we've won the battle.
Thank you. But if we can tackle consumer opinion, would the processors be happy to buy it?
That, just like any other scientific development in farms, will very much depend on consumers. Dairy companies, retailers are there to provide products that consumers want, and it will all be down to consumer acceptability at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, none of the major supermarkets were happy to talk to camera about whether they would buy milk from large-scale dairy units. However, in a written statement, ASDA said that they would not rule out buying milk from large units as long as it met with high health and welfare standards. Waitrose also stated that they focused on sourcing milk from traditionally run farms that were largely family-run, and their size meant that they could focus on meeting consumer demands. MilkLink was the only milk processor happy to make a comment on the subject. They said, "MilkLink does not dictate the system that individual members or supplying farmers should adopt. Rather, we encourage each member to identify the best system for their circumstances. It is in the farmer's interest to have happy, healthy cows that are productive, and farmers have a legal and moral obligation to maintain high welfare standards."